What is good, my people? We are live back again with another live show on the forecast. And like always, man, make sure y'all subscribe to the backup channel, the Forecast Radio 24. Yeah, I'm not gonna be on here too long. I definitely want y'all to call in. But yeah, it's been a long day. I ain't mean to be on here too long because I already know it's late. I had a whole lot of stuff to do today. Got a lot of stuff going on, but I got to come on here and talk to y'all. You know, I always love talking to y'all. And since it is Memorial Weekend, I definitely want y'all to call in. We don't really discuss our ancestors because we see how they try to keep, not only destroy our history and anybody who stands up for us. They try to take, not only kill them, they try to take them completely out of history, right? And it's time that we start honoring our ancestors, right? We honor everybody else's ancestors, so why not start honoring our own, right? Honoring people like the brother Madison Washington. Right now, if you were to know about the people in your history and how much the people have fought for you, right, you'll be glad to scream their name, rep who they are, right? People like Madison Washington. Now, this brother escaped from slavery twice, right? He made it to Canada the first time, and he literally came back to Virginia, to Richmond, Virginia, to get his wife from out of bondage because he understood, right? Being free without your family, without your loved ones, doesn't mean anything. So this brother rest his life, went back to Virginia, right? But he got caught. So they put him in chains or whatever. And they were going to sell him down to, send him down to New Orleans to be sold. But this brother had weapons and all of this kind of stuff in the lining of his jacket, of his coat. So, a couple of days into the trip, right, the brother frees himself. He was watching to see who would be on code and which person would tell on them. What's going on, brother Bakari? I sent you the chat. I emailed it to you. I mean, the link. I sent it to you in the email. Yeah, I'm trying to give people a little chance to get in here. So, but this brother went back down to Virginia. Once he got caught, he freed up like 17, 18 other people, and they killed every white person on board and left, well, not everyone, they left one alive to try to navigate them, right? But once they realized that that person was trying to get over on them, right, they threatened them, and the white person ended up taking them all to Africa. Now, we don't know about this brother. Yeah, it's all good, my brother, take your time. But we don't know about our history about this brother because if we understood, because they teach us about Amistad instead of him, about how they had to go to court to beg for their freedom, give us free. That's the kind of image that they want us to put in our heads, right? But this brother took over a slave ship that was supposed to go to New Orleans, went all the way to Africa, right? Freed over 100 people, and his wife happened to be on board. So he escaped from slavery 2 times and lived out the rest of his life. But see, if we start talking about everything that we have done, everything that we have seen, and how much that we have actually pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps. And that's why I want y'all to call in. Any of the ancestors, even if it's your own people that you want to shout out for Memorial Day, this is a practice that we need to start developing to honor our ancestors instead of their ancestors. See, they corrupt all of the ideas that we have. They try to make their ancestors out to be some sort of hero, and truthfully, is no difference between Hitler and George Washington or any of these presidents. They try to sell us the idea of people like Abraham Lincoln was all about, freeing them, because that's the only way they can really sleep at night. They know the truth about what they have done, but they only really want us to pay homage to who they want us to pay homage to. But that's for a reason, and they're showing you that right now in their school books, and what they're telling you that they don't want you to know or learn about yourself. That is the goal, to keep you ignorant. But I gotta shout out people like Otto B Wells. Right now, they try to make Otto B Wells out to be just like some feminist, but Otto B Wells wasn't necessarily that. She was about the rights and the protection of black people. She said every black person should have a Winchester rifle in their home. But they ain't gonna tell you quotes like that about Otto B Wells. Right? She's the one who understood, the first one to really break down the lynch law, which is still in effect today. Right? You see it in cases like with Deshaun Watson and all of that stuff. As soon as the brothers start speaking up for himself, you see how they targeted him. And she understood that they didn't really care about white women. They don't care, right? They don't have empathy. They're psychopaths. What they did care about was being the haters that they are, was how this nigga got a piano and I don't. See, she understood that they just used the role of the white woman to demonize black men, and they would run stories in the newspaper all the time about how this crazed drug addict black, same stories that you see on the news today. And then they would have a little 9-year-old 10-year-old white girl lie and say that she got raped or something, but really it was economic warfare and psychological warfare. Because now you still got people going around and saying black people is savages, black people is this. But you can go back and read her work from the 1800s, and she broke all of this down. How it was economic warfare, how important that economic warfare is. But see, if we understood all of that stuff. What's going on, brother Bakari?
Peace. What's going on, my man?
Not much, my brother. Not much. I appreciate you coming on, my brother.
Man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you allowing me to come on, man. And I appreciate you just being a guest on my panel, man. I ain't asked, but I did send the link to Guy. You heard
What?
me?
Yo, yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah. So, but this is a good one because we do need to remember. We need to remember all of our people. We also need to remember our people that created this holiday, Memorial Day, after the Civil War, when they wouldn't even bury the black slaves that fought, right? Remember that? Remember
Yeah.
studying that? Black people had to
Hmm.
go out and start burying them, and then went out every year to remember the fallen soldiers that fought for what we would call freedom. So all of that need to be remembered. I think we need to put all of our people in the same class, in the same category, and stop putting one over the other, because we had people that did great things, right? So all of us need to be remembered. And the guy, I can't remember the name you just said, but
Madison, Washington.
we can remember. How about Isaiah T. Montgomery? You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
Isaiah T. Montgomery, that's the guy that built uh Mount Bayou, Mississippi. We can go back further than that, and we can remember uh I'm gonna say his real African name on here, but we can go back and remember uh Cujo Lewis, who built Africa Town in Mobile, Alabama, right?
Yeah.
We can remember Juan Garrido, excuse
Mm-hmm.
me, from the Congo, who came here before we were kidnapped and enslaved, and was the first wheat farmer in all of the Americas. Because wheat is indigenous to Africa. So when he came, he brought it here with him, and he was born in the Kingdom of Congo, Mwesi Congo, by birth.
Yeah, I ain't know that.
So he was the first Juan Garrido. I'll put his name in the chat. He was the first wheat farmer in all of the Americas, right? He
Mm-hmm.
brought it here with him. So we should remember all of our people. You understand? If that makes sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, another brother, the brother David Walker, we're making his same appeal right now. He put out the appeal to color people around the world, right? And they were targeting this brother because anytime a black man says anything like that, they're going to target you, whether it's 1821 or 2021. That's why I don't get why we still say, oh, it's 2021, why is there racism? You might as well be like, oh, it's 1921 now, why is it still racism? And this brother put out an appeal to the colored people around the world to create our own infrastructure, build our own, do our own thing, and self-protect ourselves to make sure that, well, back then it was lynching. Right now it's police shootings. He put out an appeal to the people around the world to get on code to do what we have to do to protect ourselves. And his family even told him that he better take it back. He better apologize. He better move up to Canada because they were mad. White supremacists are going to be mad. And within a year, he died. And they tried to say it was natural causes. Now, of course, his family doesn't believe it or none of that, but you know, that's the people in our history. If we realize we've been making the same argument for 400 years, and some people have actually acted on that, and some people have even had success on that. But see, if we don't understand that, we'll be repeating the same thing over and over. So, if you got any of your ancestors, and it's not going to be too long, but if you want to shout out anybody or tell a story that you don't think a lot of people should know or do know, then you can call in and say that real quick. But yeah, brother Bakari.
Give me 1 second, forecast.
All right, all right. But yeah, and the brother talked about around the Civil War and how all of that was created. Another thing that we need to be talking about and understanding is Special Order number 15, where the black land from South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, all of that stuff was given to, I don't even like to say slaves, but free slaves after the Civil War who helped the Union fight, right? And all of this land was designed to be, reparations, right? They built their own, they had their own communities, they built their own schools, they built their own everything until Andrew Jackson came in a few years later and destroyed all of that. Because that's just what Andrew Jackson does. And they put him on a $20 bill, and we sitting here killing each other over that $20 bill. So, if we understood all of that stuff and how even the smallest things like that is psychological warfare, where we're killing each other for somebody who murdered and took our land and did everything you can think of to us. You know what I'm saying? So
And you're right, man. From the way you talked about how the Civil War was started. So in the Civil War, when we always find somehow people want to give the what they call the Northern Army. It was the North who the Yankees want to give them some damn credit, right?
mhm.
Let's remember our people when we go to talking about somebody being suffering and starved to death. When we go to talking about them Jews and what they did to each other over there in Germany, starving to death. Let's remember our brothers and sisters that during that Civil War in Natchez, Mississippi, went in there, defeated the Confederate Army, ran all the white people out, and Natchez, Mississippi, within a week went from 10,000 to 80,000. And when they saw Union soldiers, they thought those Union soldiers was on their side. They took 20,000 black soldiers, black troops, black men, and put them in a damn camp and starved them to death. It's called the Devil's Punch Bowl.
Yep.
Let's remember them. We have to remember everybody.
Yep.
Just go back and study the story of North Carolina when we had our in Wilmington, North Carolina. We had our own political party. Then we flew around and let some whites join, and they took over and they joined the other whites and whatever. I can't remember. I'm paraphrasing. But in the end, what they did was they came in, used our kindness for weakness, exploited us, then killed us.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only that, and around that time there was another massacre that people don't even talk about because I tried to look up a lot of information and there's not a lot of information on it. Just a few, history books or whatever, but it's not really a lot of information. But just think, you ever heard of the Ebenezer Creek Massacre?
No, I haven't heard of that.
Man, this was the sickest thing. This was the Union Army. They were walking, destroying. This was I'm pretty sure you heard of. Oh well, we don't really know about the March to the Sea, Sherman's March to the Sea, whatever. When the Union took over Atlanta and burned down Atlanta, right? They were freeing slaves from all over Georgia. Now they were using the men and all of the slaves that can work to clear the land in front of them. You know, um, clearing all of this stuff. And then by the time they got to the Ebenezer Creek, they couldn't get across. So they used the black slaves to build the land because by this time the South was coming in on them, and their orders was just to kill all the slaves and all of that. So they would try to build it as fast as they could. Now they let the slaves that did the work go across because they were building it, but the general, and his name was Robert Lee too, but not like Robert E. Lee, who was the president of the South. But so they told, and keep in mind, this was the women, the children, the elderly, the sick people who was following behind the Union Army for protection, because if they get caught, they were going to be killed or put back in slavery. So they were following behind them, and and the general told them, don't cross, you can't cross this bridge until we get all our troops, all our equipment. And as soon as they got all of the troops, all the equipment across the bridge, they blew the bridge up, they drew it up. And then by that time the South had showed up and they slaughtered these men, well, the injured men that couldn't work, women, mostly it was women and children and the elderly. Now they rolled up slashing them, trampling over them, doing everything that you can imagine to them. And most of the people, they tried to jump in the river even though they couldn't swim. And it was so bad that even some of the white Union soldiers who were selling them back into slavery, even some of them reported the general for what he did because the way that these women and children were slaughtered, right? And this was the Union Army who did this, right? And this was like over, they said, it was thousands of people, and they said the people who jumped in the river and drowned had a better death than the people who faced the Confederate soldiers who showed up.
Give me one sec. Hey, forecast.
Yeah.
Guy
Oh,
say he's backstage.
oh, all right. Hold on. Yeah, you go ahead, talk, my brother.
But yeah, man, we can go, and I have to study this history a little bit more. Me and brother Guy was talking about it before, about the Black history in Lackawanna, New York. They even did a movie about it called the Lackawanna Blues. Those Black people in everywhere we went, we did good, right? Those talk about the Black history in Buffalo, New York. Talk about our brothers and sisters that ended up in Canada and Nova Scotia. Everywhere we went, we did good. They can't stand to see us have anything. Even if we're doing bad, just look at today. Even if it's not the greatest neighborhood and we don't have the businesses and doing everything that we used to do back then, they still want whatever we got because they don't want us. And they figure if they keep taking, one of these days we might get the message. I'm glad they don't want me because I don't want them either. But that's not the point but you understand the point that I'm making. So we're gonna remember us all of them. Remember the people from your hometown forecast who people might not know. Say their names. You know them. You know who did good in your neighborhood. Let's say their names. It can be local. Everybody don't have to know them, but we have to remember our people. I'm done. I hear the mic. Guy just came up.
Yeah, what's going on, brother guy? Yeah, you.
What's going on, Kings? How y'all doing?
I'm good. What's going on, guy?
Nothing much. So I just want to just get a clarity. What's the as far as the topic is concerned?
Well, just because it's Memorial Day, we just having a memorial for the ancestors, and
Oh,
any kind of like the ancestors you want to shout out, events in past that don't really be talked about that you think should be talked about.
oh, definitely, definitely. Um, I think what I like to talk about, I'm uh more inspired by our women, our sisters, fighters. I mean, we are so used to the men fighters. But I love to see our women fight alongside of us. So one of my ancestors and that I'm pretty much connected to of my bloodline is Queen Nzinga. So I definitely want to you know give her praise when she fought against the Portuguese in West Africa and Angola. So she don't really she's not really mentioned a lot. We hear about the Malcolms and the uh, Otto B Wells and Harriet Tubman and Marcus Garvey and stuff like that, but we don't really go further back. Um, our freedom fighters go way back when it comes down against the enemy. So I just definitely hearing her story and stuff like that really is inspiring. This is something that I want to teach my daughter
Yeah,
about.
tell us what she did.
Well, what I've read about her brother was the one helping the Portuguese, and he would trade his people for, I guess, weapons and rum and all that stuff, and she didn't like it, and she would argue with him like, "Yo, what you doing? These people are enemy, blah blah blah." So he was sick. So when he died, she took over the throne. So that was her way of fighting back. So when she had the opportunity to fight back, the Portuguese was like, "Whoa, wait a minute, you supposed to continue. We had a business arrangement," but she was like, "No, I see what y'all trying to do, and that's not happening." So of course they fought, and some of the people uh, that she had to kill, even some of her own people that betrayed betrayed the tribe or whatever. Um, There was one famous part in the story where they was going to talk about a treaty, and you could see this male king. He was king of, I guess, Portugal or whatever, and he's already sitting down. He's sitting down in his chair, And it just shows you that white men never respected black women. And I'm sick and tired of these movies always trying to show that this love scene where you have this white man showing, it's just propaganda showing white men loving black women, which is totally false and fake. Um, but he didn't offer her a seat. He had her standing. So one of the male soldiers had formed he had turned into like a seat for her. He had put, he just nailed down and been his, basically his back where she could sit on his back. And that's when she ended up looking that she could have a seat. And I thought that was like, it's just amazing how the black man loved the black woman so much that he formed himself like a seat so this black woman could sit. You know what I mean? It's hearing stories like that it's beautiful. Um, but she was a freedom fighter. She was a freedom fighter, and she did her part. And these are the things that they don't talk about, and to our children, our babies, especially to our sisters. So it's a beautiful. We need to hear more stories. Our freedom fighters go way back, and that's what we need to really remember. Not just it's global. It's definitely global. Yeah, I just wanted to just say that, and I yield the mic.
Yeah, definitely. Queen Ziegler, she was definitely a warrior, and her father was a warrior too. She got that warrior spirit from him, and King Alfonso is another one. And from what I understood from history, they try to say he sold slaves, but what people don't really realize is they were kidnapping their people. And this king, I'm not sure if it was this one or another one, but I'm pretty sure it was him. But they kept taking his people because when they tell you they sold their own slave, in a lot of cases, right, they were also taking them while they were quote unquote selling people. So he was taking his family, and at a point he got enough. He had enough, and when he finally rebelled against the Portuguese, he crushed them. See that he was strictly opposed to all of this stuff, but we don't understand a lot about our history because they can straight dilute it. And I don't know if Brother Bakar is had to step away or whatever, but yeah, if any of y'all want to call in and say real quick and shout out any of the ancestors or whatever, you can. And what's going on, black man? But yeah, brother guy,
Yeah, I'm here.
yeah, yeah, you got anything else to say?
Oh yeah, definitely. We just can't, just like I said, we can name all the freedom fighters in the United States, and I always say this: the fight still continues, man. I just feel like a lot of our black people, they just think that our ancestors was the past, and things have changed. And as you can see, things hasn't changed. We're still fighting for the same things our ancestors was fighting for since since the 60s and the 50s and the 40s or whatever. So we're still fighting, and even when it comes down to reparations, we still trying to we trying to fight to be included. And nowadays we're trying to fight to be included, but back then our people wanted to be independent, and I think that's the mistake. And now you have black folks talking about they exchange being African to being people of color. You see what I'm saying? All of a sudden, when black people get on, they say, "Well, I'm a person of color." So they want to be this illusion of inclusion. So our people didn't fight for that. So I think that's a dishonor to the Malcolm X and the Marcus Garvey and all the other greats, Dr. King, all the other greats, and should be those should be we should have a holiday for all of them. That's when Malcolm X Day came, I took off that day. You know what I'm saying? I took off. That was my holiday. That was my way of celebrating his day. And I think a lot of black folks should have that mindset where, Marcus Garvey, his birthday's in August. I think people should take off. So there's many ways to celebrate um, our heroes. So as to remember them. I don't think Memorial Day should be just one day. I think it should be every day. Um, and what I mean by that is just for, you know, just make sure their teachings is still alive. Their teachings are still they still lives, and make sure it drills in your head. You have a purpose, you have a goal, and our goal is to win, not to lose. It's to win. Um, so yeah, and study other freedom fighters, whether it's home or abroad. Home or abroad, there's our freedom fighters is you know um whether it's in we have freedom fighters in South America. You know, there's one freedom fighter called, what's his name? Zumbi. What's his name? Zumbi? I think Zumbi, Zumi. Look him up. He was an African man. He was shipped over there, and he freed. There was the same thing, burned down plantations and all that, right in Brazil. So, our freedom fighters go way back, man. I just think that people just, just say, "Oh, well, that's in the past," and this is, you know, we forget our heroes. But one thing I can say, Europeans, though, they don't forget about their heroes. They don't forget about. They're always going to talk about um, Lincoln and George Washington and Christopher Columbus. They always going to embrace their heroes, even though their heroes are murderers and killers, and they don't care about that. But they embrace them. They make holidays out of them. They have fireworks for them, and that's something that we should do for ours. We should embrace ours. So I think that's what we need to do. But Memorial Day should be every day for us. And I yield the mic.
Facts. It definitely needs to be every day because we are the people who needs to understand our history the most. But brother Bakar, you back? You got something to say, my brother?
Yeah, I want to remember Robert F. Williams from the book Negroes with Guns. He said in book, I'm gonna explain how the name got the book. Then you can study the part of North Carolina he was from, which was Monroe, and see the attacks that white people made. And see how those attacks stopped, and it was very few because he was attacking back. But anyway, the book got the name him, and he was training people to be with him. But him and two young men was on their way to the swimming pool, right? In segregated North Carolina. And they say it was about 4,000 people out there. And he said them young black men wanted to swim. So he was going to take them to the pool. And he was like, so all those white people out there, he said 400 or 4,000. I think he said about 4,000. And they got him out there and they won't let the car by because they don't want him to get in that pool. And the cops came to him and said, "Give me your gun." And he told them, "I'm not giving you my gun. With all these people out here, if you want my gun, come to my house. Then I'll let you see it, right? You can get it. But you ain't getting my gun out here so these people can run up on me." Well, one cop went to want to put a gun on him, right? Well, at this time, the two young brothers, who he said, two young men, he said they was like 17 years old, they had been training to use guns. So when them cops put that gun on him, those two young brothers, and I don't have their name because they should be remembered too, tipped up behind the cops and put their snub nose 32 on their back and got the cops' guns. And Robert F. Williams kept his gun and got in the car and drove off. And as he was getting in the car, the book got the name. He said it was an old drunk white man in a ditch. Well, of course, he didn't say Negro. You know what he said. "I don't know what this world coming to. Negro got a gun and you can't do nothing with him." He said, so that's how he got the name Negroes with Guns. But we have to remember Robert F. Williams because of his fighting spirit, because he wasn't bowing down to them no more, because he took a stance. That's how he got the book. He got into this fight because he said he was tired of seeing his people beat. It was a black woman went to the courthouse, and I forget what she was complaining about. And the white man beat her, slammed her to the ground, and dragged her out the courthouse by her hair and was dragging her down the street. And when Robert F. Williams seen it, he said, black men out there turning their head the other way. He went and handled that cop and made that cop let that woman go. That's why he got to be remembered. That's a hero. That is a hero. Today, we will put out our cameras and record. I tell people, if I'm fighting and the cops doing something to me and you see me fighting back and they winning, and the only thing you can do is record, let them get away with it. Because Robert F. Williams was tired of seeing it. He was tired of seeing it. So when we talk about Memorial Day and remembering heroes, we can go way back, or we can come to the 60s, or we can come to the 2000s. But we going to remember our soldiers that fought back. Michael Xavier Johnson, Gavin Long, Christopher Dorner. We going to remember our soldiers who fought back. They're heroes, regardless of how TV want to paint them. They're heroes. I get them, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely, man. These brothers is heroes. So many people like fought and did all of this stuff so we can say the stuff that we say. Like the stuff that we say on our channels, they would have lynched us like 50 years ago for saying half the stuff that we say. And another brother that we can shout out, the brother Patrice Lumumba, right? He got up there in front of the Belgians and said how we about to start doing our own thing. We're going to institute our own social justice. We are going to create our own institutions, and we are not going to bow down to him. And it wasn't long after that before he was arrested and assassinated, because they needed to be in control over that empire, because that's what made Belgium so much money, right? Because they like to talk about psychopaths, and like my brother God said, they honor their ancestors. But really, can you tell me what the difference between Hitler and George Washington or Christopher Columbus? But they celebrate one and demonize the other, right? And this brother Patrice Lumumba, he was about to stand on his own ground and make sure his people stood and kept their own resources. And this Leopold came in there and slaughtered hundreds of millions of people just for to just to gain. And that's how he got his whole empire. Everything they have gotten is from you. See, we don't understand that. They like to forget that before they kidnapped you, they were in the dark ages, right? They don't talk about that part of history. They need history to stay in a certain time frame, and they need it to stay in certain ways, and even that is all lies. But brother God. All right, I guess brother God fell off. Let me see.
It seems like he fell off.
Yeah.
You can go to Thomas Sankara
Mm-hmm.
or Burkina Faso,
Yeah.
who put the French out. He gave one of my favorite quotes ever. When he took over and the French was talking about what they could do for him, Thomas Sankara stood strong and said, "He who feeds you controls you. We will never take anything from the French again." Unfortunately, well, before I get to that, he took because they were so bad. He took every private plane that the country had except one, sold it, put it back into the country. Every Mercedes that every diplomat from the country had, took them all and sold it. He only had a bodyguard ride with him twice a week. He drove. The president of the country drove the cheapest car in the world made, right? So when you find people want to talk about Gaddafi, who I don't care nothing about, understand he took his idea and his plans from Thomas Sankara of Burkina Faso, who did it first. Unfortunately, 4 years later, his right hand man, who he thought was his right hand man, sold him out and assassinated him so he could be in control and gave all the power back to the French.
Yeah, that
But
was
we have to start remembering
yeah.
these people. We have, let's remember the Kikuyu tribe in Kenya who kept the Arab slavers from over there, started cutting off their head. Let's remember the Massacre tribe of West Africa. When those tribes, the Massacre tribe, there's about 7 or 8 different tribes. It was not one tribe. There were 7 or 8 different tribes that came together to create one big tribe to fight off the enslavers. And they say less people, fewer people from the Masi tribe than any other one was caught and put into slavery because they saw the similarities. Those tribes started to see similarities in one another so they could stay free and build. The guy who I just named, Thomas Sankara from Burkina Faso, it was in him to see black people work together because he was from the great Masi tribe. So let's remember all of our people, all of them that we can. Now I hear the mic.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, if anybody want to call in and shout out any ancestors, it could be your ancestors, you know what I'm saying? Or any event or something that people don't really know about, it's a Memorial Day. We have to start celebrating our own history, understanding, remembering our own history. And that's the only way we're gonna that's the only way we're gonna break these cycles. But my brother Guy's back on. My brother, what's going on, bro?
Yeah, definitely. I'm just gonna say, you know, people like Muhammad Ali, you know what I'm saying, that woke up a lot of people, you know what I'm saying, and and I think about the things that he has done. Um, he fought many wars. He fought against the war of Vietnam, and even though he joined the Nation of Islam, he became a powerful voice. You know what I'm saying? So, I definitely want to because even though he was an athlete, he didn't care. He didn't care. He said, I'm willing to give up all this to free my people. To me, that's deep, man. Like when he's willing to give up his belts and all that just to free his people, like, you know, I just want to definitely, give thanks to him. Um, and definitely Robbie F. Williams, man, I definitely want to buy that book. Just for um not only to just to read it, just to get more information of it, but just to have it as small as part of my book collection as well, because I think that's something that's very important, something I could pass down to my kids and grandkids. You know what I'm saying? So, um, definitely much respect to Robert F. Williams, man. Like I remember, I just read a little something. They said that his grandmother, you know, um, gave his gave him a rifle, saying which it was belonged to his grandfather. So he's definitely was brought up bearing arms and stuff. So yeah. So when you listen to these stories, it's just you know these are warriors, man. These are warriors that they never forgot their African roots. You see what I'm saying? Because African people, we always been warriors, and that's what we need to do. We need to really, really concentrate on the ones that are fighters, and that's the thing that we need to do. The Haitian Revolution. We need to talk about that more. Um, what else? There's many others. I mean, we can go on and on. What about those? What about that trial with the women, with the sisters in Africa, where the men didn't want to fight,
Yeah,
and what was the name of that? What was the name of that
yeah,
tribe?
yeah. That was the women's war in Nigeria. I was just about to mention that.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good thing. That's see stuff like that. It should be told. Our stories are not being told. Not in the movies, they're not being told in the school systems. So you already know. Do you want to talk about white agenda? I mean, come on, man. Like they not telling us our story. You'll read about Greek and Rome and Troy and all this other stuff and the four horsemen. You know what I mean? All this other nonsense. But when it comes down to our stories, they won't show it because they're not trying to wake up. They trying to keep keep our children asleep. So we have to do it. That's our job. That's our responsibility. So our children could be more equipped of fighting the enemy. So we have to prepare. It's our job, not the school systems or whatever. It's our responsibility. Their job is to try to keep that hidden from our kids, but our job is to make that public. And I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I said, like we are living legends right now. We are the ones that's bringing this to light. We the ones keeping our ancestors alive and the things that they taught us. So we have to keep this. We have to keep this going. So, like I said, when we talk about Memorial Day, which it was created by us, it didn't created by white people. They didn't give a fuck about they dead. Excuse my language. They didn't care about they dead. We was the one that buried their dead, and not only their dead, but our dead too. And then we made a proper burial for them. So we the one. Our ancestors the one who created Memorial Day, and that's the story that we need to teach our youth. So that's our responsibility. Let's make it our responsibility to teach our youth, and to me that's I mean it's to me that's liberation and that's power. And I yield the mic.
Yeah, definitely, my brother. That's definitely real talk. And brother Bakari mentioned, some of the people that came from my city, like people like Maggie L. Walker, who created her own institution off of an industry that was neglected. How black women didn't have any products, so she created that product, and we still have the same issues today where these products intentionally are not designed for us. We have whole markets that we can create for ourselves, right? And another brother that was in Richmond, the brother Gabriel Prosser. Now his story is important. This is why we got to understand our history and how he was able to go around and he was able to gain the trust of Europeans, but he was still a slave and he understood that he wanted freedom and he was able to go around, so he was able to get people an army in different locations from Richmond to Petersburg to other surrounding areas. He got hundreds of people, but the night they were supposed to do what they were supposed to do, it just started raining so bad that they couldn't even go anywhere. And I can see it now. I can see all those people saying, "Oh Lord, this is a sign from God. We better not do anything." I can see that mindset now. And the very next day, somebody went back, told their master, because that's what they were to them, and they they found out about his plan, and they lynched the brother. Now he didn't say a word. He didn't give them the satisfaction, right? But the person who told on him, they got $300 or whatever. They got so-called freedom, but back then they were kidnapping free people, so there's no telling if that person even stayed free, right? But it was his own his as somebody who was supposed to be involved in it that went back and told to benefit himself, but it devastated the movement. And that's one of the things that stopped a lot of the movements from slavery up until today, right? Where one person, thinks they're going to get some kind of benefit, and there's no loyalty from a psychopath. There's no sympathy. There's no empathy. And they have no care. You're nothing but a tool. And as soon as that tool is useless to them, they'll destroy it, break it, or whatever they want to do with it. But yeah, brother Bakar.
Uh, I'm trying. I can't pronounce this man's name. I'm trying to get it so I can pronounce his name. I know him, but I say it wrong all the time. I want to say Oncemus. He's the uh, he's the African slave that invented vaccines. Uh, when they was going through the smallpox pandemic, I guess back then, he explained to white people how in Africa they had been using vaccines forever. And he explained to them and showed them how to get rid of uh, the virus that's killing people. His name is spelled Onesimus. I don't know how you say that once a month. I really don't know how to say it, but that's what I say. But of course, he used that for meritorious manumission, and you know meritorious manumission. If you do something good, uh, for white folks, you could gain your freedom, and that's how he gained his freedom by creating the vaccine. And I yield the mic.
Yeah, shout out to Return of the Black Man. Said Hannibal Barcus, and shout out to the brother John Henry Clark. That's another brother. Yeah, brother guy.
Yeah, yeah. I forgot it. Yeah, that's true. It was an African, uh, enslaved African who invented the vaccine for smallpox. That's true. These are the stories they won't mention. It's unfortunately where we have to, dig in the crates and find out all this stuff that they kept hitting from us. Um, when you look at names like, like I said, we can go back. You know, we can uh, you could talk about, let me see, Himotep. Who invented the he was a brother who, um, he was a doctor and he was an architect of the pyramids. Um, and I mean, we can go back 5,000 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, our people did it all. We did it all. So it's like when we look at, we invented chemistry. That's what the word chemet, the ancient chemet. I mean, that's the word chemistry come from. Science. So when we go back in our history and find out all these treasures that our people had laid down for us, so to keep forward, um, that to me, once you get that knowledge, that's you know that's our way of trying to keep the fight going, because a lot of the time they try to suppress the knowledge. The enemy don't want you to know too much, because they know that you could do for self, and they won't be able to feed off of you. You know what I mean? So, I think, it's this, it's beyond the guns and stuff like that. This is goes beyond, um, inventions. When you talk about the brother who did the traffic light, you're talking about, our ancestor who invented, Benjamin Banneker, who, uh, built D.C., Washington D.C. And if you look at Washington D.C., it looks like ancient Kemet, because he going back to his roots. He go back to what he knows, um, of 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 his home, of his, of the motherland. So, and then he invented the clock. So so our people have done so much. So it's more than just them fighting in wars and stuff like that and the guns. It's just more freedom fighters. Could be, just like Brother Bakari said, could be a lot of inventions and stuff like that, like medicine and um, 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 and you call it medicine and uh, shit. What the hell is what's the other one? Uh, oh shoot. Um, I'm just lost track of thought. But we had to cover um like, okay, engineers and stuff like that, medicine engineers and stuff like that. So it's, our people go way back. I mean, like I said, the brother who invented the traffic light, and the gas mask. You know what I'm saying? So these things are still being used today. So we really, really have to honor our ancestors who really, really paved the way, and the names has to be mentioned. Um, I personally think, in my opinion, that I think we should, when we um, control our schools, right? We have more fully control our schools. I think all anything that's white, it should be thrown in the garbage. That's just me. Rather if it's learning about Europe and all that stuff, I think all that should be thrown in the garbage. Because if you really look at it, every race learned from African people. So what the hell I need to learn about Europe, Rome and Greece, when they learned everything from us anyway? It should just be all African based. You know what I'm saying? And that's just how I look at it. We should not be learning about no other country. I think we should only learn about Africa and learn the accomplishments that our people have done. And to me, that's like the ultimate memorial um, century. I don't even call it Memorial Day. We need to call it Memorial Century. You know what I'm saying? Or Memorial Decade. You know what I'm saying? Or something like that. So, because our people have done it all. So, um, so we have done so much. We have contributed to the world. And for some apparent reason, we don't even get a damn thank you. We get a damn thank you. But again, um, we have to show our stories. We have to be unapologetic. We have to stop worrying about how other races may feel about it. So, and I think that's our problem. We're so busy worrying about other races' feelings, and we should be worrying about what we feel. And when we stop caring about other races, how we feel, then we can move forward. We got to be unapologetic. We talk about being unapologetic, but we don't show it. I think our actions always speak louder than words. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to stop caring. And I think this is like I love about this platform because it just shows that um, we don't care about what other races think. This is we gonna put our people on the map who have put in the work, who did the field work, and that's what we need to do. We need to really put it out there. Whether it's filmmakers, whether it's doctors, what I'm saying, people who's no longer here, that definitely um, gave us a chance to continue their legacy, and that's what we need to do. We need to continue their legacy. That's our purpose on this planet. We need to continue our ancestors. Our people did not die for nothing. We have to continue our legacy. And I yield the mic.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, we're not gonna be on here too much longer. I know it's already late. I appreciate y'all brothers for staying on with me. But you know, uh, and not in addition to learning about that, we also need to learn about Dred Scott, people like Dred Scott, and the impact that has had on us. right? How they said that we are not human. They don't have to respect any laws. They're not bound by any laws to respect us. And they have not passed or had any court ruling to overturn that to this day. But we're not learning about who Dred Scott was, what happened with the Dred Scott decision, right? We don't know about just everything through history from the new Negroes in the 1920s who came back from World War I, and they they were tired of what was going on, so they were now armed and strapped in like every war. After every single war, that's why America hated to arm us, because they realized they weren't going to be able to just come into our communities and harm us without somebody shooting back. So in the 1920s, they called themselves the New Negroes. And that was all of the race wars, the Red Summer, all of that stuff comes after that. We got to understand our history and how this country still have to pass Voter Right Act, which means you're not a citizen in this country. So why are you signing up for a military to fight to enforce another system on other groups of people just like you who have been exploited, who look just like you, right? We not hip to the whole history, and they're designed to not put us up on that history of how we're not actual citizens of America. So why would they teach you about your true history? They're only going to teach you that you are our property, you are still our property, and there's nothing you can do but be our property. That is their mindset. And they're going to prop up their heroes, their killers. But if you prop up somebody like Huey Newton, who said we're going to build some kind of self-defense in our community. They targeted his brother. They said he was a threat to America. They targeted the ministers of defense. They targeted Stokely Carmichael. They targeted Martin Luther King. They targeted all of these people because they believe that the Black Messiah, the rise of the Black Messiah, was the death of America. But what they don't realize is the Black Messiah isn't a particular person, it's an energy. And the real Black Messiah is Black unity. It's us being on code, doing what we have to do, and honoring our ancestors who have shown us the way. But yeah, brother Bakari, yeah, you want to shout anybody else out and kind of close out and all of that?
Well, you know what, man? Let me give one of my heroes, Booker T. Washington. I love Booker T. I used to think he was a coon until I truly studied Booker T. Booker T was a smart man. He knew how to get that money from them white folks, promised them, I don't want to live with you. I don't want to vote in your system. We're going to create our own. Told black people about businesses. Booker T. Washington was a Booker T. Washington was a genius. So look, man, I thank you for allowing me on your panel. Look, this brother Bakari and anybody in the chat, if y'all haven't heard of me, y'all heard of me now. And if you like what you heard, you could go to my channel. It's my name, Brother Bakari, and go and hit the subscribe button and smash the notification bell. Once again, Forecast man, thank you for letting me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming on, my brother. Yeah, brother guy.
Yeah, I just want to give my ancestors, Marcus Messiah Garvey, man, for his inspiration. And and like I said, you know, what about the brother who with the Patterson automobile? The first brother who created the car. You know what I'm saying? And see, they don't talk about these things. You know what I'm saying? So these people really, really uh expired me, you know what I'm saying? Um but one of my main ancestors is Marcus Messiah Garvey, man, because he's the one who gave us our flag, you know what I'm saying? And he's the one who's letting people know that, hey, Africa is your home, Africa is your nationality, you know what I'm saying? And we need to have our own land, have our own laws, and just get reconnected to our people in the motherland. And he came, he was in Europe because he knew black people was in Europe too, to get black people connected too. So he was over here, and and I think he was in Britain or whatever. But black people was over there too. Pan Africans is in Europe, so he was there to get our people over there on board. So that's the reason why he was over in Europe. So when people talk about, well, he didn't die, he didn't go to Africa. No, he was out there getting Pan Africans on board. Um, so I just want definitely um, just want to say thanks to Marcus Bassar Garvey, and I would definitely keep his legacy, continue his legacy. I'm gonna do my best, and I'm gonna pass that down to my kids and my grandkids, and hopefully, what I'm saying, to the to the bloodline ends. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So I just want to say thank you, Forecast, for inviting me on your panel. This was a great topic. And always remember your ancestors. To the people who listening, remember your ancestors, and um, do not forsake them. Keep their legacy alive. And this is Guy Nollywood Jr. Definitely subscribe to my channel, press those notifications. And again, thank you again, Forecast, for inviting me on your show, man. You're the best. Thank you.
Forecast. Let me say one more thing right quick.
Yeah, go ahead, my
Guy
brother.
said something and made me think of something that I had left out. Uh, and I meant to mention these two people, and it's two things that we're using right now. Philip Imagawale, Nigerian brother, created the internet. We're using it right now. Henry T. Sampson invented the cell phone. Black man, Jackson, Mississippi. We're using both of those things right now. Some of them using the internet and because they own their phone on the internet. So we can't get away from the things that we have done. And I just wanted to say that because we was on here. I don't even know what Guy said that made me remember. Damn, I forgot to say those. But when he was just speaking, he made me remember. I forgot to say those two names.
Yeah,
That's what's
So
up.
now that's it right there.
yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate y'all brothers, man. Y'all dropped a lot of knowledge. I mean, I learned a lot of stuff from y'all just tonight alone. So I appreciate y'all, man. And I'm gonna say shout out to I got two ancestors. My brother, God mentioned it earlier, the brother Martin Luther King. I mean, not Martin Luther King, Muhammad Ali, who stood his ground, gave up everything that he had, and knew that it wasn't really about me, it's about the people. And he had no issues doing that. Right. And how he stood his ground, I definitely respect that brother. And my hero, I would say, is Otto B Wells. She was the first Rosa Parks. She was in first class. She bought her ticket. They tried to make her get up and move because she was a Negro woman and a white man wanted to sit down, and she refused. And she went to court in the 1800s, 1870s, 1880s, something like that, and actually won her case. She was the first Rosa Parks. And then she went on to create the Red Record, where she documented all the black people who was lynched that she could find at the time, and how they were lynched and what they were accused of. And she came out with the lynch law, how she broke down the economic attack on these people and how they used their women in this war. So I got a shout out to the to my sister Otto B Wells, who was one of the first heroes, and they attacked her home. They burnt their home down. They burnt their printing press because she was telling the truth, but she didn't care. They threatened her, and it didn't matter. All of these ancestors, they were getting firebombed in their houses for trying to stand up for our rights. And they make it a lot easier for us. So we got to start honoring our ancestors. And again, man, I appreciate y'all brothers. I appreciate all of y'all for listening. you know um we I'll probably be back on in a few days, and make sure y'all subscribe to the backup channel too, the Forecast Radio 24. That's where all the videos you used to. I can't put them on this channel. YouTube is hating, and I'm pretty sure on y'all channels too. Y'all see it, like the views is lower than what it actually should be. So, um, as always, man, we have got to start standing for something, or we're gonna keep falling for anything.